Do you guys remember travel agents? You know, the people you'd go to like in person and talk about a trip and they'd book everything for you? Yeah, it probably wasn't the best decision to open one of those in like the mid 2000s, right? Now, there are still travel agents, but overall, I think if we look at the trends, we can see that the way technology was going, becoming a travel agent 10 years ago or so wasn't the best decision, right? What I want to do in this video is share a couple professions that I would really caution you from jumping into, at least without doing your research. Some of these professions have huge upfront costs to get into them in terms of your time and finances, and with AI and other aspects of automation may not be that lucrative or even possibly exist in a decade or two from now. The first area I would really avoid is any low-end language-related work. So what I mean by that would be like transcription or low-end translation. So on the very high end, if you're translating a great work of art in Czech or Italian to English, AI is not going to be able to do that for probably a dozen years. Like, I know Google claims that with their AirBuds or whatever, it instantly translates and you can have a conversation. Outside of a few main languages, it does not work very good. Like looking at the Czech translations for Czech and English, let's say, it's pretty brutal how it works. With that said, that technology will get good enough for basic conversational translations, probably within 5-10 years, and the whole translation business on the lower end is not going to do very well. In terms of transcription work, that's pretty much done. I mean, Google is right now transcribing this video as I speak into captions, and I'll tell you, the captions, the automatic ones, are probably 97, 98, 99% accurate, and there's already software that I use on my phone to just speak into and it instantly transcribes it as well. So not the best area to get into, and also, come on, that's pretty boring work anyhow, right? And you're better than that. Find something that's a lot more interesting to you, and don't settle for transcription work regardless, even if there wasn't AI. That's what I would probably say. Next up is accounting. Now, okay, this channel, I often make content for ENFPs, and sometimes accounting is the butt of my jokes already. So you might be saying, Dan, I get it, I don't want to be an accountant, but it's still worth sharing. Accounting is something that can be handled more and more by software and with some kinds of AI, and in the next 5-10 years, that's going to happen more and more. Now, that's not to say there aren't areas of accounting that you can succeed in and do really well in the future. But what I'm talking about is if you're starting out and you're deciding where you're going to go to school, what you're going to study, you're going to become an accountant, what, 5, 6, 7 years from now? What kind of job environment are you going to be going into? Probably one where a lot of the jobs have already been taken over by software and you're fighting for the scraps available at the top. Now, if you do happen to be an ENFP or one of the other more creative types, there may be opportunities in accounting in terms of strategic advising and that side of things, where that is not ever going to be taken over by software. So if you get more into the strategy, how companies can set themselves up maybe to pay lower taxes or make things more efficient or whatever else, that could work really well, and I doubt you'll have an issue with automation anytime soon. Now, on the medical side, if you're thinking about becoming a doctor, still do it, but definitely check on where you want to specialize. I heard on a podcast the other day that radiology is being taken over in many ways by AI because the software can often read x-rays better than the human eye. So something to think about is where you want to be specializing in. Actually, a good friend of mine is a radiologist, and I remember a decade or so ago talking with him about where he would specialize. And he had his pick. He could have specialized in anything based on his grades and everything else. And he chose radiology for a variety of reasons. It was very appealing at that time. And I was thinking about him when I was thinking about like making a video. It kind of inspired me to make this video. Is I don't think anyone was thinking 10 years ago about what technology would be like now and making choices based on that. And so I'd like to give you that opportunity to think about that. So the medical profession, don't get me wrong, it's not going to be robot doctors going around treating everyone, but certain areas of the medical profession are likely to be taken over by robots. And so think about that, think about the area you want to specialize in, because as you know, medical school, especially if you're in North America, is insanely expensive. So then you've got a ton of debt, and it would really suck to come out of medical school with a ton of debt into a profession that no longer exists. Same thing with the legal profession. There will be many opportunities as a lawyer in the future, but law is one of those professions where a lot of people become lawyers because I don't know what I want to do with my life. And so there's a lot of lawyers. I've heard it's 1% of Americans have a law degree apparently. Have not fact checked that, but would not surprise me. So if you're getting into the legal profession, really be thinking about where you're going to work and is that something that can be either fully handled by software 5, 10, 15 years from now, or is it something that people are going to need for the long run? Also do consider this, even if you're going to specialize in an area that is not going to be taken over by the robots, consider the change in competition as all those people at the lower end who get taken over by robots might push their way up and be looking for other jobs. So the competition will become stiffer and stiffer for the positions that do remain in the field. So keep that all in mind. I'm not saying not to go into the field, but really think ahead 10, 15, 20 years to what it could be like and what will still be needed by people and what will be handled by software or little robots or whatever else ends up happening. It's really important to push yourself to think far into the future. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and some of the land there is leased by the government. So there's houses you can buy that when I lived there, you own the house for 70 years. But at some point that land is given back to the government or whoever originally owned it, or needs to be renegotiated. Now, when it's 70 years out, people don't really think about that. It affects the price a little bit, but it's not really a big deal. But then it's 50 years out, and then it's 30 years out. Then it's like 15 years out. Now, is anyone that interested in buying a property that in 15 years you lose the ownership of? Not many people, because who's going to want to buy it from you in 5 years or 10 years, or at some point you lose it. So think that way a little bit when it comes to choosing a profession. If you're looking at the big professions like law or accounting or medicine, you have a huge upfront investment, somewhere between 5 and 15 years, and a ton of money. So you really need that profession to be lucrative for 40 or 50 years out from now. If you become a doctor, say it takes 10 years, which is on the quick side, I think. If you become a doctor and you have $200,000 in debt from that and you get out in 10 years, and then 10 years out from that, keep in mind the exponential acceleration of technology now. 10 years out from that, so that's 20 years out. If it is no longer a viable career, that was not a good investment to just get 10 years, right? People become doctors, they invest so much time up front because you have a great career for 40, 50 years afterwards. If that career is gone in 20 years, all that investment probably was not a good decision. So really watch some sci-fi, think about the craziest future you can predict, assume technology will get exponentially better, exponentially faster, and then think about the profession. Will they still need people to do this? And if the answer is yes, go all in. If the answer is no, I'd really challenge you to reconsider that. I hope you found this video helpful with thinking about your future and the life you want to design. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I publish new videos every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, all around designing the best life for you and becoming the best version of yourself. Thanks again for watching, and catch you in the next video soon.